So after Saturday night's main event that did go down on Saturday last week, I'm sure you could have figured that out. This picture, or a picture you've seen in the thumbnail, I'll throw it up in just 1 second, did the rounds on the internet, and surprise, surprise, there were certain people that said certain things about this image. And as I woke up today, I realized, you know what? Sometimes I just need to go on a bit of a rant, so that's what I'm going to do right now. Please do subscribe before we do get into this, because either you're going to enjoy my rant or you're going to hate me, but then hopefully you'll forget about the subscription, and you can check my next video out, where usually I'm more of a positive Pete. Let's go. No one's going to share some of these messages, but as somebody pointed out to me, and I do agree with this anyway, that just fuels the fans, or fans the fuel, so I'm not going to do that. All you have to do is go search on social media. It's not hard. You can fight in around about 3.2 seconds. And I know it's nothing new. I know I'm shouting into the ether. I know really I'm wasting my time here, and I'll be on my deathbed going, why did I do it? But this picture should be nothing but positive, no matter what side of the divide that you choose to be on. I think it's ridiculous if you are Team AEW or WWE. You should be Team Pro Wrestling, and you should watch every single show as it comes into your face. Terrible use of words there. Every single week. Sometimes you should like it, and sometimes you shouldn't like it. If you hate everything they do, you're grifting. And if you love everything they do, you're grifting, right? Because no human being who is balanced of mind can enjoy every single thing that a wrestling promotion puts out over 52 weeks a year. That would be ridiculous. You should be tested on by scientists, because that's a rarity, right? To have entertainment given to you and you're like, oh, everything's great or everything's rubbish. That's nonsense. At least one thing has to permeate in a real way. So that's just where I wanted to start off. As I'm sure you can realize, and I'm sure it's one of the reasons they did it too, I'm not pretending otherwise, but you have Ricky Starks, Ricky Saints, you have CM Punk, you have Cody Rhodes, and you have Jade Cargill, all being champions within the WWE system, and of course from, 2 to 4 years ago, they were in the AEW system. Do you know how awesome this is, that this can now once again exist in pro wrestling? If you grew up with just WWE, which in many ways is the issue, you didn't live in such an environment. I did, because I caught the tail end of the WCW WWE stuff. It was awesome. Lex Luger just popping up all over the place. Rick Rude being on the same show on the same evening. Wrestlers being able to move where they apply their business in order to increase their wages and kind of sort of hit reset to renew their star power. I mean, if Chris Jericho goes back to WWE, it will be because he feels fresh. There'll be a nostalgia kick there, and he can continue on his career for however long that he wants to do. That is awesome stuff. You don't want to die a death in one place, especially if you go back to the independent scene. If you were truly set on making it prior to what the Young Bucks and all those guys did, which is another reason AEW is important, you just had to hope that you got to WWE. If you didn't, you're like, oh, I don't really know what else I'm going to do now. But that's why I just want to run through all of these people to underline where this absolutely a positive professional wrestling. I'll start with Cody Rhodes. Now, I've seen both sides of the fence here. Some people will say, Cody Rhodes left AEW because he wasn't connecting with the audience. And other people say, AEW fumbled Cody Rhodes. I hate that word fumbled. I think it's so damn insulting. That is not what happened at all. And that is taking nuance and spitting it out the window, which, to be fair, is what everyone does in 2025. But without Cody Rhodes, AEW wouldn't exist, right? Without Cody Rhodes leaving in 2016 WWE, whenever he did that, he wasn't the only part, but he was a pivotal part. Tony Khan obviously has to exist. The Young Bucks have to do what they do. Kenny Omega has to be Kenny Omega. Cody Rhodes has to be Cody Rhodes. You needed Chris Jericho because he brought mainstream appeal, for lack of a better term. And as it turned out, you needed John Moxley. There's a whole video there on itself. All these entities came together, right place, right time, pandemic sucked, etc., etc. But now all these people doing their thing, who the flub knows what happens to AEW. So Cody Rhodes, when he was there, was an absolute positive. Another conversation I saw this week is, oh man, why do all wrestling companies feel the same? People should take more risks. Cody Flubbin Rhodes lost the match to MJF where he was never allowed to challenge for the World Championship. And this wasn't a wrestling stipulation. This is something, as far as we can tell, that both Tony Khan and Cody Rhodes were going to double down on. And maybe they had different conversations backstage. But in terms of the information that came out of the television into our screens, that's what we had. Now, in hindsight, probably wasn't the best idea. But if you are talking about wrestling companies trying something new, that is a massive thing to do. Because not only did it tell you that AEW is going to stick by its steps, and you can't even poke fingers at WWE here, it's everybody. All wrestling promotions in history one day have gone, nah, we're just going to ignore that. Enough time has passed. But it was also kind of daring, right? They put Cody Rhodes in a very specific position. Again, would he do it again now? I doubt it, especially because he has been such a good WWE champion. But we'll never know. It's a sliding doors moment. And then what happened at the end? Once again, it's a big question mark. Cody Rhodes has always said he's never going to talk about it. Tony Khan has said he's not going to talk about it. There's rumors and speculation. It has something to do with Brandy. Either way, it doesn't matter. They had a meeting of the minds. They realized they were heading off in different directions. Cody went back to WWE and totally smashed it, and AEW has been doing super duper whooper good as well. You can start going, this, but that. No, they're still around. They're still making money. They're still paying a bunch of awesome contracts to the wrestlers, and the TV deal was absolutely huge. That's just a work falling out, right? I can't even call it that because I don't know its specifics, but that has happened to everyone. That's happened to me, that's happened to you, that's happened to Auntie Joan, that happened to Grandma Betty back in the day. Every single person on this planet has got to the point where all of a sudden they feel it in their bones, I should go and do something else. It's why I hate the term WWE guy. When people go to AEW, they just did their thing in WWE for a while, and then they jump ship. It doesn't make them a WWE guy. It makes them a pro wrestler who went to the biggest company in the world, and now they're looking to do something new. Doesn't mean that AEW should hire every single one of them, but also they don't deserve that stink being put on them. And I use that as a term because that's how it's delivered, right? There's nothing wrong with working for WWE, and there's nothing wrong for working for AEW. But to act like Cody Rhodes being the WWE champion is a bad thing, is totally nuts. And to act like Cody Rhodes being in AEW was ever a bad thing is totally nuts. Him leaving was good for WWE because they certainly jumped on that, hence why he had his AEW presentation. And I think, yes, after a while, AEW did have to find their identity again, but guess what? They did. It's like a sports team. When you lose one of your franchise players, you have to shuffle the deck. They shuffled the deck, and now I don't think anybody tunes into AEW going, oh man, this would be way better if Cody Rhodes was here. It probably would be if you put the WWE Cody Rhodes there, but once again, he had to go and become that Cody Rhodes in order for that to happen, which it may do down the line. My best example of this is when people go, oh man, Eric Bischoff really fumbled Steve Austin. Maybe Steve Austin doesn't become Stone Cold Steve Austin unless WWE screws him over. They definitely screwed him over when you went through the story, but they were never going to get behind him in that way anyway. So it had to happen, right? That is one of these moments, once again, when the explosion goes down and all of a sudden love rains down upon thee. I don't know what that means, but I'm sticking by it. As for Jade Cargill, who's the next one, of course, she won the Women's Championship at Sunday Night's main event, which she should have done. I think her heel turn has been inspired. They've only done sort of, 2 or 3 episodes of television, but I think she's been great, especially in this match. She should be a power wrestler that destroys people, and yeah, her selling and being the babyface in peril just doesn't work for her character. Great, we're figuring things out. But once again, people go, oh my God, I don't need to repeat it, right? But WWE probably wouldn't have even been aware of Jade Cargill if it wasn't for AEW. She went for a tryout there. I think they offered her a deal, but Jade decided to go AEW instead. For whatever reason, she wanted to get more experience. She liked the people there. I don't know. She'd have to come out and talk to you. But once again, the only thing I can tie into is sports. Without Jade Cargill going on that awesome TBS title run she did, probably WWE is not interested, right? And that could be because they saw worth in her. That's because they saw, well, we can take another AEW talent, which also provides worth to their organization. We've seen that time and time again. Like when Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole both turned up on AEW. I remember people going, oh my gosh, the winds of change. We've crossed the streams. That's always going to happen. Sometimes you're going to be super high on WWE, especially after they do something big, and it'll be the same for AEW, right? That's just the way it works. That's how emotions work. You can't just pick one lane because you're going to drive yourself crazy and probably waking up being a sad panda. But to me, this is just the evolution of a wrestler. Like Jade never did the indie scene, I don't think, but it'd be the equivalent of going indie scene, AEW, WWE, probably back to AEW for a while. Career comes to a close, you go back to the indie scene. I don't think it's a good thing or a bad thing. I just think it's a human being making choices. She should have had that awesome TBS run. I really enjoyed it. And again, I remember loads of people being high on the Jade Cargill wagon. Then she went to WWE. There was a bit of stuttering and starting because I think 100% WWE knew what they wanted to do. Then she had that injury, and the rumor has been that they wanted to make her champion from before WrestleMania. So we've taken our time, but that's all right as well. There is nothing wrong with that, but there's no fumbling here. If Jade Cargill was still in AEW right now, she'd absolutely have a place. I think she is a merit to a roster. That's not what's wrong with my brain. But she's a worthy addition to have. But if WWE made her a better deal, and some people say she used that because she wanted to kickstart her acting career, awesome, great. It does not make Tony Khan look bad, and vice versa. It doesn't make Triple H look bad if somebody wants to go. It just doesn't. These are human beings operating in a certain space, and there's every chance they just thrive better in the WWE environment than they do in the AEW environment. There's a lot of people that would feel the other way too. There are countless stories of people saying, I just wasn't able to do my thing in WWE because it's too structured, the creative is too sort of claustrophobic, and I wasn't able to give my input and I went away. Now, it may be different now. We do not know, but that's out there as well. So far as I'm concerned, right now, Jade Cargill, ever since she entered the wrestling business, just having the best old time. AEW benefited, WWE's now benefiting, and they're both existing and they're both doing great. No problem. Now, Of course, someone in the comments went, but the TV ratings, Simon. I'm not worried about the television ratings right now because none of these people would be a sustainable draw if they jumped to the other side, right? I mean, Cody Rhodes coming back absolutely would have an injection when it came to how many people were tuning in, but it would balance off after a while because as soon as somebody starts to feel like the furniture, people then fall back into their old pounds of maybe I'll watch and maybe I don't. That's why wrestling always goes like this. It's like, let's move on to CM Punk, right? Let's talk about it. When CM Punk returned to AEW, one of the best returns of all time. If you would want to wipe that from existence, you're mad. It's wonderful. It is great. And yes, you can see that when he was there, loads of people were tuning in for him, but it also, it didn't die off, like he absolutely kept it at a certain level, but there was certainly a dip, right? And that's not a CM Punk thing. It's not a Cody Rhodes thing. It's not a Jade Cargill thing. It's not a Ricky Starks thing. Maybe if John Cena jumped ship, people would watch for a long time. But that's just a completely different kettle of fish and something we're not going to talk about, although it would still happen, right? I remember when Stone Cold Steve Austin came back in a non-wrestling role and people were like, oh, thank goodness he's on TV, and the ratings still continued to decline because it's nothing to do with Steve Austin. There were other factors at play. CM Punk is an interesting one because if what happened in AEW didn't happen, would he have ever gone back to WWE? I think probably yes, because again, that's just how the wrestling landscape works. But without AEW, we don't get his return. We don't get that feud with MJF that was brilliant. We don't get the Eddie Kingston build a match, which was absolutely excellent. What happened between him and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Tony Khan, I always like to tread carefully on it because I imagine it affected them in deep, unsettling ways. But that was just a huge falling out at work based on rumors and hearsay and what's true and what's not true. And they quite clearly never had a conversation at the time they needed to have a conversation. And the wrestling internet community did their thing and kind of stoked the fires. To act like we got to that round 2 after All In, the first one, the one in Wembley. And even Bryan Danielson, who was part of the disciplinary committee, said, I think it's better we just let him go. Once again, I don't want to repeat myself with the Cody Rhodes stuff, but that's just a couple of people falling out, right? That's a couple of people bumping heads. I'm sure if you talk to CM Punk today, he would absolutely say it was way worse than that, but that's for him to say, not to me. I'm sure Tony Khan would do it too, but it was a terrible situation. It was an awful situation. It wasn't a fun situation. And I do think AEW took a good maybe 12 to 18 months to recover from that because it was a hit on their PR. And if you have this brand new wrestling company and they've kind of put out these signals of, oh, we're not going to be like the old ones, then all of a sudden you have a very old school falling out between the wrestler and the promoter. Yes, all of a sudden some people are like, you know what, I'm just going to give it a while and then I'll come back to it, which is what they've now done. But I don't think AEW fumbled CM Punk. I think it was thanks to them that he came back to wrestling. I think he had a brilliant time there. I think if he hadn't had the injuries and the brawl out stuff, he would have just gone on to have even more successful programs with people. But I'm also over the moon that he did go back to WWE because his Survivor Series to return a couple of years ago was another moment in time. And every single thing he's done since then, well, it's just seemed very beneficial all around. Apparently goes down to NXT. He's now the current world champion, and I think that will absolutely be of, well, it's going to divide people down the middle, as all these things do. But it's the right thing to do. He's the most popular babyface on Raw. And if you are going to all of a sudden have to reshuffle your deck because of the Seth Rollins injury, you give it to CM Punk, right? And to me, this starts saying the same things here, but I guess this is my main takeaway from it. It's just people earning a living in professional wrestling. And if you want to do that in North America, you go to WWE or go to AEW. That's where we are in 2025. I'm sure Punk was being paid great in AEW, otherwise he wouldn't have accepted it. Talk about a man that knows his worth. It's that dude. I'm sure that WWE matched or even offered him even more money, and they're treating him like a star because he is a star. Cody Rhodes is a star. Jade Cargill is a star. But let's not act all of a sudden like we don't have stars in AEW. They're not of the level of WWE because WWE is a bigger promotion. So if you want to compare it to the Premier League, Haaland playing at Man City is a bigger star than people that pay further down the league because that's just how it works. And I don't think anybody in AEW is going to come out and go, oh, no, we're the number one wrestling promotion. They're well aware of where they exist in the space, and it's an awesome space to exist within. And you cannot tell me today they are not an alternative promotion. It is very rare that I watch Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, and Collision, and they all feel the same. Dynamite and Collision don't feel anything like Raw or SmackDown. Sometimes you get things that are very sports entertainment, but that's because it's wrestling. There's dumb stuff all of the time. I just wouldn't undo any of this, right? I try and look at it as a fan, first and foremost. I'm happy that Cody did this. I'm happy that Jay did this. I'm happy that CM Punk did this. I'm happy they've all gone on to this tremendous success they do have. But I also love the fact that Bryan Danielson went to AEW and Adam Cole and other people that I'm not remembering right now, and you turn up and like, this is crazy. Ricochet. Oh man, the Ricochet debate drives me crazy. People out there going, well, I went into all his television ratings. That's sad. That's a really sad thing to do. Either enjoy his work or don't enjoy his work. And if you are going to start criticizing people based on the numbers they draw on Dynamite, why the hell are you not sitting there and doing it for everyone? Because if you just do it for one specific person, then that's just a hate campaign, essentially, right? It just is. And I'm happy to talk about it with you. If you think I'm talking about you, send me a message and I'll absolutely confront you is the wrong word, but you know what I'm talking about. But if that's your game, totally fine. If you're looking at what does MGF do, what does Tony Storm do, what does Mercedes Moné do, what does Ricochet do, and what does Punk do, and what does Cody do, then that's fine. But all of a sudden you're talking about it from one specific person, something incorrect is going on, as far as I'm concerned, and you're allowed to counter that until the cows come home, and I respect the fact you have the freedom to do it, but otherwise, it's just creating this ridiculous conversation, this ridiculous back and forth, well, I've got X and I've got Y. You're playing wrestling top trumps, right? And that's totally fine. Do you have that in America? I don't know, but that's what you're playing, and it's totally fine if you have bought the cards. Otherwise, I just think you're going to be on your deathbed, and you'll be like, why did I waste so much time doing that? As for Ricky Starks, Ricky Saints, this one arguably is the biggest one because the fire is still there. Some people say, well, being a champion in NXT doesn't amount for anything when he could be in Dynamite. Then other people go, he totally fumbled him, Tony Khan. I think it's crazy. I think Ricky Starks had an incredible run in AEW. His original promo, his debut promo when he was in the Cody Rhodes Open Challenge was great. Every single thing he did do, that strap match with Bryan Danielson, the tag team he was in with Big Bill, that shouldn't have worked, but they made it work. I mean, there was some clear controversies there, like what happened with him and Adam Copeland, but that's nothing new. Welcome to the wrestling business, kid. But at the moment, yes, he hasn't got to the main roster, so we need to see how he's going to flourish on there. I think he'll be super successful because he's just that guy, but we have to wait and see. And if he got to Raw and SmackDown and it didn't quite work, all right, it sucks for him, and I genuinely would be like, oh man, I'd much rather that would have happened in a different way. But he's not the first guy to do that, and I really don't think that's going to happen. Even if he went back to AEW, though, there's not tail between your legs, and it's not if he doesn't go back and he becomes the WWE champion. Tony Khan didn't fumble him. No, Tony Khan used him in the way that he thought he should use him as a promoter. And once again, I don't think Ricky Starks still being on their TV would get them out of any kind of issues that they're in right now. That's nothing to do with Ricky Starks. I just think we are living in a world where unless you do have a super duper whooper, crazy big star, they're the only things that kind of, like the reason I always go back to John Cena is because ever since he's announced this year's tour and he gets put on shows, you see tickets go up. It's the same with Roman Reigns. Like, there are people that are so big. But there are other ways to do that as well. I just look at it like I'm playing The Sims or Theme Park or Theme Hospital to go back to nostalgia games. You take the items, or you take the apparel, you take the apparatus, you take the equipment you do have, and you put it into certain slots. If it doesn't work, you move it around again. If all of a sudden you find yourself, oh my gosh, we're really headed in a different direction, then everybody should sit down and have a conversation, and you should change the deck once more. But that, to me, is for people kicking ass in pro wrestling, both in AEW and WWE, and that's not me ignoring the problems. I guess I would argue that probably Ricky Starks and CM Punk had the most issues in AEW. Usually these things are half of one, six a dozen of the other, but I'm not privy to it, so I can't really comment. But even if it was AEW faults over CM Punk's fault, it was CM Punk's fault over AEW's fault, it happened. And they went and they're able to make their living elsewhere, and they're of such a high level, or they're able to connect to the crowd in the correct way, that they're now a champion. I hope that continues to happen for people that go over there, and I hope it continues to happen for people in AEW. Let's say Drew McIntyre, right, got so frustrated that he's never allowed to beat Cody Rhodes. He ran out his contract and went to AEW. I hope he becomes the AEW World Champion, and I hope he's able to just bring as much positivity and joy to that company as possible. And if one day Britt Baker, just think of somebody, goes to WWE, I hope she can do the same, right? Because that's what you should want. You shouldn't want death and doom and gloom. Well, you can do, but I don't think it's a particularly good way to live. And when I saw that picture, I thought, oh, that was nice. And I saw the cute side of it too. Of course, it's for former AEW champions. Then all of a sudden, the war just broke out, and I was like, I don't think this is the kind of stuff, let me rephrase that because you don't need to listen to me. Who the hell am I? But I just think it takes away from what the conversation should be. I know some people are saying, oh, but Simon, they stoked the fires first. Well, maybe they did, right? And they're allowed to do that. But it doesn't mean as a fan base that we need to jump on that horse and all of a sudden ride it into the ground. I'm going to leave it there because now I am literally ranting and raving. I do feel quite passionately about this, and I don't think that you have to, well, they did it, so I'm going to do it too. Well, you don't know why they did it. We can certainly make intelligent speculations about this, but we can also sit down and just say, isn't it a wonderful time to be a wrestling fan? And I think it is. Like Samoa Joe's in AEW. Samoa Joe's the greatest person ever. And at one point, WWE didn't want anything to do with Samoa Joe, which is totally stupid. So, you know, there's always ups and downs. I would know more about that. There's always lefts and rights. There's always goods and bads. But That's just how I watch professional wrestling. And of course, if you don't, more power to you. Whatever's going to get you through the day. Pro wrestling is meant to be a distraction. And if you want to be distracted in a, for lack of a better term, negative way, then you should be able to do that. I personally just think it's nuts when you can't even get a picture and all of a sudden people are going, oh man, the AEW fumbles, or vice versa. It doesn't exist. Now, of course, please do drop me a comment below about this. Will I read them? Maybe I won't. It depends. It depends what kind of mood I'm in. But please do join in and engage. It's super important. Then do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. Massively important as it turns out. Otherwise, gridofmine.com/Simon. You could Simon get 10% off and more percent off. Ships worldwide. Best fitness supplements in the world. Patreon.com/Simon316 for my watch-alongs, my wrestling watch-alongs. Come say hello or yell at me at Simon316. I did a thread about Saturday Night's Main Event the other day. How I thought CM Punk was the right choice. And there was like 5 super aggressive, that maybe have led to this video, replies, just muted it. I was like, oh man, wonderful. The stress has gone for the day. Otherwise, it's Cameo, it's TikTok, that's what it's called. Come get my silly videos there. They really are dumb. Otherwise, prowrestlingtees.com/Simon Miller. Otherwise, my friends, have a terrific day. I appreciate you, and I'll see you soon.